MediEvil is well known for being full of interesting levels that were ahead of their time in terms of their creative design and the way that they unfolded. Among these levels, there's a handful of standouts that shine particularly brightly for different reasons. The Hilltop Mausoleum, Cemetery Hill, and the Sleeping Village are just a few examples of the fan favorites that get brought up, and there really is no right or wrong answer to which level is best. You could really make a solid argument for many of them, but for me, the Haunted Ruins stands out the most. Not just because it's got a great look, it's got superb music and engaging characters. You can literally say that about any other level in the game. But the reason that level stands out to me is because it has all of those things, but also shifts the tone of the game narratively and for Sir Dan himself by presenting the most profound chapter of his journey so far in the mission to restore peace to Gallowmere. And I thought with the remake on the way, it'd be fun to dig into the game a little bit and go over why the Haunted Ruins is my favorite level of the whole game. Up until the Haunted Ruins, MediEvil mostly presents itself as kind of a whimsical, relatively lighthearted experience. Well, the Haunted Ruins pretty much changes all of that. Here, Dan returns to his home before his home was a crypt, and immediately he is greeted with the dire results of his own failures and mistakes. Because Dan freed the shadow demons earlier in the game, this once bustling kingdom has been smothered by time into a dark, uninhabitable hellscape where only ghosts and shadow demons saunter up and down the causeways.
Once again, the shadow demons are wreaking havoc across the land, and it's all thanks to you.
Because of all this, the farmers of the land who are left are held prisoner. Their animals are going hungry, and King Peregrine has been reduced to nothing more than one of the many lost souls of the kingdom. It's quickly very apparent to Dan and the player that all of this is sort of Dan's fault. The entire level is drenched with that somber sense of guilt that totally sets it apart from anything else the game has been so far. Now, in traditional MediEvil fashion, it's not totally doom and gloom. Even though this level contains the clearest, most prolific examples of Dan's failures in life, it also presents his biggest chance for redemption in death. In the beginning, Dan has the opportunity to feed the chickens by directing them to the mounds of feed. Once that happens, the weight mechanic is freed up to lower the drawbridge. It's not long after entering where you see the captive farmers, strung up over little fireplaces for seemingly no reason other than to torture them. Again, since Dan shares some responsibility in this, there's lots of reason to want to rescue them, but that won't work out if you just charge in there and alert the shadow demons without a plan. As soon as they notice Sir Dan, they will run to the button that lowers the farmers into the flames, so it's best to prepare yourself to slay the shadow demons as quickly and systematically as possible. In my experience, going ham with the magic sword on the shadow demon furthest ahead and working your way back is the best way to go, but I imagine there's other ways to go about it. If you're successful, the farmers thank Dan and give him some gold. If you screw it up, you miss out on all that, and you'll just have to live with yourself.
Forgive us, master. We have no pig to reward you, but we'd be honored if you'd accept these shiny gold-colored stones as a token of our thanks.
Regardless of how this segment turns out though, once it's done, this is when the level starts to open up. Like most levels in MediEvil, there are lots of different pathways to explore and thoughtful little details to discover and appreciate. After a little bit of exploring and avoiding hazards and slaying more shadow demons, Dan eventually finds King Peregrine's crown, takes it to his throne, and uses it to summon him to a ghostly reflection of his former self. Sir Dan was Peregrine's right-hand man of sorts when they were both alive, and he always believed in Dan despite his faults. Now, as a ghost, he's one of the only characters that still sees something in Dan, and he's got a plan on how to rid the kingdom of the shadow demons for good.
What's happened to your jaw? Bad luck, old man. Now look, Zarok's army of shadow demons hide beneath us within this very mountain. They prepare as we speak to invade fair Gallowmere. If we are to thwart his plans, we must bring down the castle on top of them. We must unleash the lava behind the floodgates. I can take you to the gate's control lever, but you alone can pull it.
Huh?
Of course, it's a highly dangerous mission, even for a dead man. I dare say that when that fiend sees what you've done, he'll make sure you spend eternity in the most unspeakable torment. But then, I know these things mean nothing to a man of your iron will. Eh, Fortescue? Splendid. Good luck, old friend.
At this point, the path to redemption couldn't be any clearer for Dan. Once the lava is unleashed, the plan works and the kingdom begins to crumble. However, 2 massive stone golems are also unleashed. And of course, they refuse to let Dan escape. If everything's gonna go down, they want Dan to go down with them. And because of the nature of the golems, normal weapons are useless against them. The only way you can really deal with them is to push them over the edge and into the darkness below. The dash attack is one way to do it, but I found that if you have the dragon armor equipped, the fire breath will do the trick much better. Regardless of how you choose to dispatch them, you still can't take all day. The castle is disintegrating more and more every second, and as a result, you are strictly timed for the rest of the level. Normally, I hate timers in games, but in this context, I think it actually really heightens the experience and creates an even more climactic tone. Despite the golems being dealt with, Dan's troubles are not over. Escaping the area is now all Dan really needs to do, but depending on how much time you have left, you could take some time to grab the chalice if you've earned it, pick up any other items that you might have missed, and finally, escape via a trebuchet at the castle wall. If you defeated the golems quickly, this won't be too difficult, but if you took very much time, this part can get pretty dicey. Once Dan finds and activates the trebuchet and stands in it, he's launched over the wall, away from the castle, away from the place that was once his home, and soon will be nothing but a pile of ash. The Haunted Ruins is not only a fantastic level from a design standpoint, it's special for the game because it gives Dan that first big push to evolve into the valiant warrior that King Peregrine always thought he was, instead of just being an undead goofball. By sacrificing the place that Dan used to call home to save Gallowmere from an invasion of shadow demons, Dan truly begins to live up to his own legend. There are still several major tests for Dan left at this point in the story, including the final showdown with Zarok at the end, but because of what happens in the Haunted Ruins, Dan knows he can do it. He knows he can be the hero and stand among other heroes instead of just being the butt of their jokes. The Haunted Ruins fundamentally changes Dan for the better, and it sets up the final act of MediEvil perfectly. And for those reasons, it's my favorite level in the game. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments, and we'll keep the conversation going. But until then, thanks for watching.